For centuries, the Great Pyramid of Giza stood as the last sentinel of forgotten gods, its stones whispering secrets to the desert wind. But when archaeologists drilled through an ancient shaft deep within its hidden corridors, they expected nothing more than stale air and dust, the quiet exhale of 4,000 years. What came instead was a silence so heavy it trembled. Instruments failed, lights flickered, and in that moment, as the borehole widened into darkness, something unseen yet palpable stirred, an ancient resonance vibrating through flesh and bone. It was not air that escaped that sealed door, nor was it decay. It was memory, vast, sentient, and cold. The crew didn't yet understand that they hadn't uncovered history. They had awakened it. The chamber's breath pressed outward, carrying whispers that bent language itself, as though the stones were trying to speak, or to warn. Above the pyramid, the desert night deepened unnaturally, as if the stars themselves recoiled. The sealed shaft was supposed to be inert, untouched since the reign of Khufu. Yet the instruments recorded an impossible reading, a harmonic frequency below measurable sound, resonating through the pyramid's heart. Within hours, Amelia's team began to experience dizziness, faint auditory illusions, and dreams not their own. Each described the same vision, an antechamber vast as the night sky, filled with stars that moved like eyes. The pyramid, once thought a tomb, seemed instead to breathe. Its geometry aligned not only to the heavens above, but perhaps to something beneath. And beneath the noise, a pattern began to form, one that seemed to be calling them deeper. By the second day, the sealed passage had expanded itself, the limestone giving way as though softened from within. Scanners revealed a hidden chamber no one could explain, positioned beyond known architecture. The team prepared an exploratory drone, but signals failed beyond a few meters. It wasn't mechanical failure. It was interference, rhythmic, deliberate, intelligent. The pyramid had begun to hum again, the tone now perceptible even to human ears. Amelia described it as a voice trapped between worlds. When she pressed her palm against the stone, the hum stopped, and something pressed back. That night, the desert wind carried strange harmonics, low, layered tones reverberating through the dunes. The nearby village dogs refused to bark. Locals spoke of ancient guardians, the keepers beneath, said to awaken when the pyramid's heart is disturbed. Amelia dismissed it at first, but her scientific mind faltered against what she'd felt through the stone. There was intelligence there, ancient, patient, and waiting. She began to suspect the sealed door was not meant to protect the tomb from the world, but the world from what slept within. Just before dawn, the instruments registered a pulse, seismic, localized, and rhythmic like a heartbeat. The sealed chamber had opened a fraction wider on its own. From within came a sound like wind through hollow bone, followed by a whisper in no known language. Malik recorded it. The waveform revealed symmetrical peaks, resembling hieroglyphic shapes. The pattern wasn't random. It was communication. The pyramid had spoken, and though none could translate, every living thing near it seemed to listen and fear. When the sun rose over Giza that morning, it cast no warmth. The sand shimmered like fractured glass beneath a pallid sky. Amelia felt the echo still pulsing through her bones, that low resonance that followed her even into dreams. The expedition had drawn attention. Government officials, journalists, and military observers arrived uninvited, bringing bureaucracy and fear. But the air itself seemed to resist intrusion. Instruments malfunctioned again, compasses spun wildly, and the static whisper returned through every audio feed. It was as though the pyramid recognized strangers and grew restless. Beneath layers of protocol and science, something older was watching. Amelia knew it wasn't superstition. The hum was deliberate, rhythmic, communicative, and inside that rhythm, she began to hear her own name. By midday, the new scanning equipment detected geometric patterns emanating from the pyramid's heart, not architectural harmonic. The data formed a perfect sequence, a spiral expanding in sync with solar activity. Amelia's voice trembled as she compared it to an ancient symbol. The Eye of Caper, said to represent the moment of transformation between death and rebirth. But the pyramid's pulse didn't match myth. It matched frequency, as if responding to cosmic radiation. What terrified her wasn't what they found, but how the structure seemed alive, adapting. She realized the stone wasn't containing something. It was incubating it. At twilight, the hum deepened into something almost melodic. The pyramid's outer stones began to resonate, producing faint luminescence visible even from the nearby village. Amelia recorded the event, her voice steady but trembling. She described it as the pyramid breathing light. Locals gathered at the base, murmuring prayers. Soldiers raised their rifles toward nothing, and beneath that shimmering glow, she sensed movement behind the sealed wall. Like the slow shifting of a body stirring after endless sleep. The following night, Amelia reviewed the footage. Frame by frame, she saw something no one else noticed. A faint shape behind the limestone door, visible only in infrared. It moved, slowly, deliberately, as though watching them. Her voice recorder captured a secondary signal layered beneath the hum. A heartbeat not human, not mechanical. The pyramid wasn't just resonating, it was responding. Malik warned her to stop, but curiosity had already surpassed fear. Amelia couldn't turn away from the truth. The ancient builders hadn't sealed something dead inside. They had locked away something immortal. Before dawn, Amelia dreamed of corridors that curved endlessly inward, walls covered with living symbols pulsing like veins. She awoke to the same vibration rumbling through the sand, not from within the pyramid this time, but beneath the camp itself. The seismic instruments screamed with readings impossible to interpret. A single word formed on the screen, repeated in electronic distortion: "Open." The sealed door's surface began to fracture under its own resonance, cracks glowing from within. For the first time, Amelia wasn't the one pushing deeper. The pyramid was reaching out. When the fracture finally opened, it made no sound. The stone simply parted, grain by grain, like sand slipping from the grasp of time itself. Behind it stretched a corridor that defied geometry, angles folding into one another, darkness coiling in on itself like smoke. Amelia felt a sudden drop in pressure, followed by a rush of warmth from within. The team's cameras malfunctioned again. Every recording showed only static and faint, luminous glyphs moving across the screen. For a moment, the hum ceased entirely. Silence, vast, living, absolute, filled the air. Then from deep within came the echo of breathing. Not theirs. Something ancient, patient, and aware had awakened, and its first inhale carried a name buried by millennia. As they descended, the air grew warm. Not from heat, but from vibration. Every footstep triggered a subtle resonance in the stone, as if the corridor recognized their presence. The carvings changed as they passed, rearranging their order like living script. Amelia recorded every second, whispering notes into her mic, her voice trembling with awe. The walls began to emit a faint hum of their own, harmonizing with the sound that had haunted their instruments. And for the first time, she realized the pattern wasn't random or natural. It was a language, one that used resonance instead of words. The pyramid was speaking, and they were walking straight into its throat. At the end of the passage, they found a chamber circular and vast, its ceiling lost in darkness. In the center stood a monolith, blacker than shadow, humming with low frequency. Around its base, hundreds of symbols spiraled outward, forming a perfect mandala of light. The readings were impossible. Radiation, magnetism, vibration, all peaking simultaneously. Malik's camera lens shattered as he tried to focus on the stone. Amelia, transfixed, approached despite his warnings. She swore she saw movement beneath the monolith's surface, something that looked back. It wasn't stone at all. It was an eye, closing and opening in rhythm with her heartbeat. When the monolith's surface rippled, time itself seemed to fracture. For one heartbeat, Amelia saw flashes of impossible scenes, the construction of the pyramid under alien stars, figures cloaked in gold performing rituals beneath a darkened sky, and a great storm swallowing the Nile. Then everything went black. Her recorder captured a single tone sustained for 9 seconds, a frequency known to cause hallucinations, or perhaps awaken memory. When she opened her eyes, she was lying outside the chamber's entrance, the limestone door sealed once again. Malik was gone. Hours later, Amelia stumbled into the cold dawn light. The camp was silent. Every monitor displayed a single looping image, the sealed shaft glowing faintly from within, and beneath it, a pulsating waveform matching a human heartbeat. But it wasn't hers. A low, rhythmic hum began to rise again, echoing through the sand, spreading outward toward the horizon. The Great Pyramid shimmered faintly, its apex emitting a soft, luminescent haze. Amelia realized then that the door hadn't simply closed to keep something in. It had shut itself to begin something new, a resonance that would never stop. By the time the authorities arrived, Amelia could no longer explain what had happened without trembling. Her words came out fractured, looping over themselves like broken radio signals. They sealed the site, posted guards, and confiscated all recordings. But the hum did not stop. At night, it grew stronger, spreading through the ground, resonating with metal, bone, and memory. Nearby instruments began recording electromagnetic spikes that mimicked human EEG patterns, as though consciousness itself was being broadcast. Amelia watched the pyramid from the quarantine tent, hearing faint whispers layered within the hum. The voice spoke through vibration, syllables forming without language. She felt it inside her chest, a rhythm answering her pulse. Something was syncing with her. They called it residual resonance syndrome. Amelia knew better. The hum had become personal, alive within her. It matched her heartbeat, followed her breathing, and invaded her dreams. In her sleep, she saw the monolith again, not as stone, but as a vast neural structure pulsing beneath the sands, stretching miles in every direction. Each pulse released sound. Each sound formed thought. The pyramid wasn't a tomb nor a temple. It was a vessel, and she had become its voice. Through her, it began to remember. That night, the military team reported tremors under the pyramid. Soft but constant. The seismic readings formed an unmistakable pattern, identical to human speech frequencies. Amelia demanded to be released, insisting she could interpret it. Colonel Mercer refused, but at exactly midnight, all power in the camp failed. Darkness engulfed them. From the direction of the pyramid came a deep resonance that vibrated the sand itself. Lights burst across the sky like silent lightning, each flash synchronized with the pulse beneath the earth. Amelia rose from her cot, her eyes reflecting the rhythm. "It's not calling us," she whispered. "It's remembering us." At dawn, the hum subsided, replaced by a low, rhythmic breathing from beneath the ground. The soldiers refused to approach the pyramid. Their compasses spun wildly. Radios bled with static resembling whispered words. Amelia approached the colonel's tent, showing him the new data, a repeating frequency spelling coordinates under the Giza plateau. He dismissed her, but hours later, a fissure opened exactly at those coordinates. The sand collapsed into darkness. From within came a single flash of crimson light and a sound like distant chanting. The pyramid was no longer sealed. It was expanding. As night fell again, Amelia prepared a final recording. Her voice was calm, almost reverent. She described a feeling of merging, her thoughts no longer her own, but interwoven with the pulse of the pyramid. "It remembers everything," she said. "Every hand that built it, every prayer whispered in the dark." Then she paused, looking toward the fissure as light pulsed steadily from within. "It's not evil," she whispered. "It's awakening." Moments later, the ground shuddered, the air vibrated, and the Great Pyramid exhaled a cloud of crimson mist into the starless sky. The hum became music. The desert began to sing. 3 days after the eruption of light, the Egyptian government evacuated Giza. Satellites registered an expanding electromagnetic field centered around the pyramid, not destructive, but impenetrable. Amelia refused to leave. She wandered the abandoned camp, drawn by the hum now faint and constant, resonating like a heartbeat across the sand. Every night she recorded the changes. The stars above flickering in synchrony, the dunes forming perfect geometric ripples. Something vast was unfolding, a communication through geometry and rhythm. The pyramid was no longer stone. It had become a signal, transmitting something not outward, but inward. Amelia realized that what had awakened beneath was not life in the human sense. It was memory itself, reorganizing the Earth's pulse to make room for its return. At dusk, Amelia descended once more into the shaft, now unguarded and eerily silent. The sealed wall had vanished, leaving behind only smooth black stone. She traced her fingers over its surface and felt warmth, pulsing in slow rhythm. In her headset, faint frequencies returned. The same patterns recorded days earlier, but now forming clear repetition. She translated them through spectral analysis. The result wasn't a warning, nor a curse. It was a name, older than any language, repeated over and over. The pyramid wasn't holding something captive. It was calling it home. That night, the hum changed. No longer a pulse, it became melodic. A sequence of tones that formed harmony so vast, it shook the stars. Amelia stood outside as the sound reverberated through her chest. Tears streaming down her face. Every dune, every grain of sand responded, vibrating in perfect alignment. She felt as though the entire desert were breathing with her. For the first time, she wasn't afraid. She whispered into her recorder. "It's rewriting us." Her words vanished into the music, absorbed by the air itself. The pyramid glowed like a beacon beneath the weightless night. When the scientists returned days later, they found Amelia's camp untouched, her notebooks open, her recorder still running. The last entry was not her voice, but a low resonance matching her heartbeat exactly. The instruments could not explain it. Her body was never recovered, but footprints led from the tent toward the pyramid and ended abruptly at the sand's surface, as if she had been lifted away. The hum persisted, now quieter, steady, a lullaby beneath the earth. And from deep within the pyramid's heart, a new vibration began, one that matched the rhythm of the human pulse. Weeks later, the world began to change. Compasses faltered across continents, ocean tides shifted in subtle synchronization, and auroras appeared over deserts. The frequency first detected beneath Giza now pulsed worldwide, aligning with the human heartbeat. Some called it a curse, others a rebirth. Satellites recorded a single global resonance forming, identical to the tone from Amelia's final recording. In Cairo, a single eyewitness swore he saw her silhouette on the pyramid's apex the night it all began, standing perfectly still, eyes glowing faintly red, facing the stars. The hum rose once more, then faded into silence. But even now, if one listens beneath the wind, the pyramid still breathes. Months passed. The hum no longer came from beneath the pyramid, it came from within people. Doctors called it the Giza frequency. Infants were born with heartbeats that synchronized to it. Machines began to malfunction whenever human emotion peaked, as though thought itself interfered with circuitry. Across the world, Ancient structures started to resonate. Stonehenge, Teotihuacan, the Moai of Easter Island, each vibrated faintly under the same harmonic signature. Scientists traced it all back to one point: the exact coordinates of the Great Pyramid. Amelia's disappearance had become legend, but deep in the silence between signals, her voice still whispered through data streams. It remembers. The human race had awakened something older than civilization, and now it was listening back. The first direct transmission came unexpectedly. At 3:17 GMT, every electronic device across the planet flickered, displaying a single image: the pyramid's apex crowned in light. Audio captured beneath it carried a rhythm identical to a human breathing pattern. Then, layered faintly above the pulse, came a voice, Amelia's, or something that used her tone. "It's open," it said, "and it remembers you." The signal vanished instantly. For 3 days, every radio frequency on Earth hummed in the same low tone, echoing through oceans, forests, and cities alike. Humanity realized the truth. The awakening was not confined to Egypt. The entire planet had become an extension of the chamber. Soon after, the atmosphere began to shift. Magnetic fields fluctuated violently, and auroras spread even at the equator. Birds flew in synchronized spirals over cities, whales surfaced in unison along distant coasts, and sleep patterns across continents synchronized. Humanity had become one pulse, one rhythm, unified under an unseen conductor. The line between natural and supernatural vanished. People began dreaming of pyramids rising from the seafloor, of a figure standing at their peaks. Amelia, silent, radiant, eyes glowing with the same crimson light. She no longer seemed human, but a bridge between what we are and what came before. At Giza, a lone drone captured something extraordinary. The Great Pyramid had changed. Its angles no longer conformed to Euclidean geometry. Inside, corridors rearranged themselves, spiraling inward to a newly formed core chamber that glowed like a living heart. The hum within now resembled music, not human, not mechanical, but alive. From its apex streamed thin beams of light connecting to the sky, pulsing in complex rhythmic patterns. Astrophysicists decoded them as coordinates far beyond our galaxy. Whatever had awoken was not of Earth. It was a message, a summons, or a homecoming. And then, silence. The hum stopped. The world stood still. For one endless minute, every clock ceased ticking, every sound vanished. The sky turned the color of molten gold, and all who looked toward Giza saw a final burst of light rising from the pyramid, like dawn inverted. Inside that radiance, Amelia's voice whispered one last time, calm, infinite, and full of sorrow. We were never alone. We were the echo. The light folded inward, collapsing upon itself until only the desert remained, silent beneath a sky reborn. But deep beneath the sands, something still pulsed, slow, patient, eternal. The memory had only just begun. Decades passed. The world adapted to the silence that followed Giza's awakening. The hum never returned, but humanity could still feel it beneath the skin. A quiet pulse, like the echo of a song that once defined them. The Great Pyramid, now sealed beneath layers of desert dust, had become forbidden ground, its geometry frozen in impossible perfection. Scholars whispered that its purpose had been fulfilled, that Earth had served as an ark of remembrance. Others believed it slept, waiting for another alignment of stars to awaken again. But those who listened closely in the dead hours before dawn swore they could still hear a heartbeat in the wind. Faint, slow, eternal. Amelia's name had become myth, her story erased from official record. Yet her memory lingered, resonating like a cord between the living and the forgotten. When the new expedition arrived, they came not as conquerors of mystery, but as its inheritors. The hum was gone, but deep sensors detected a steady electromagnetic rhythm, identical to human brainwaves in dream state. The team believed they were reading geological static, until the patterns began to shift, mimicking their own heartbeats. Sana felt an old pull, an echo of a memory she didn't own. That night, under a blood-red moon, she dreamed of Amelia, standing at the apex, eyes glowing with endless calm, whispering, "It's not gone. It's waiting." At dawn, the desert trembled. A single, soft vibration like the exhale of something enormous beneath the ground. The team rushed to the pyramid's base. A fracture had appeared in the sand, glowing faintly blue. As Sanaa knelt, she heard whispers rising from below. Thousands of voices speaking in unison, forming a tone that made her vision blur. The sound wasn't frightening. It was familiar, like a lullaby from another life. She placed her hand on the sand, and for a moment she saw not stone beneath her, but veins of light pulsing like the skin of something asleep. That night, the air became electric again. The stars above shifted, subtly but unmistakably, aligning perfectly with the pyramid's apex. The hum returned, softer, steadier, like a heartbeat reawakening after endless sleep. The team's equipment began to record Amelia's voice, fractured, spectral, whispering through static. "Memory is alive," she said, "and you are its echo." Then, silence. But the pyramid began to glow once more, faint veins of red light tracing across its ancient surface like blood, returning to frozen stone. As the first light of dawn broke over Giza, the hum deepened one last time. The sands rippled outward like water, and the pyramid exhaled a burst of air that smelled of rain. Impossible in the desert. Sanaa closed her eyes and heard Amelia's final words, not through sound but through resonance, vibrating inside her bones. "It remembers. It never stopped." The pyramid's glow faded, returning to stillness. But Sanaa felt the pulse within her chest match its rhythm perfectly. The memory had chosen a new vessel, and through her heartbeat, the hum would live again. The Great Pyramid, the heart of Earth's forgotten intelligence, slept once more, not in silence but in waiting.